Well, howdy, howdy. How's everybody doing today? Hope we're wonderful. It's been a long day today. I've been working on public theology and intercultural communications for my classes. Oh man, some good stuff, but it's a lot. Definitely a lot. And the public theology has a lot of ethics in there. Yeah, it really makes you think about, put yourself in check about your own ethics, your own personal ethics, and how you um, decipher what's right or wrong. We have the legalism, of course. Then we got our own, um, which I see myself kind of falling into the situational ethics, where it's all about love. You know, no matter what, it's like your ethics are dependent on how you're supposed to love somebody. And then you got the biblical ethics, of course, which is the Word of God as being the core. No matter what you believe, the Bible says different. You got to check yourself. So it's like, yeah. I mean, I still hold to that, but I do kind of fall in the middle there too on that whole. We got to love everybody. We're commanded to love. So, anyways, we are going to cover John chapter 9 from verse 1. We're going to talk about Jesus heals a man born blind. And I titled this, Why Are We Blind? So I think maybe we'll get an answer to that, that ambiguous question there in this passage. Hopefully my mic's working good, so I won't do this for naught. Seeing to check out today. So, anyways, let's just start here. As he passed by, Jesus passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? That sounds like a kind of a funny question, but this is the idea at the time that the sins of the father passed down to the children, and that you could actually be condemned with some kind of ailment or something or cursed because of some sin, and there are repercussions for sin, but as I think on the norm, I don't think God normally. I mean, there might be some instances where he blinds people or whatever, but normally God doesn't do this. It's just part of his work, part of his workings. So we'll see. Jesus answered, It was not that this man sinned or his parents, but the works of God might be displayed in him. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. We must work the works of him who sent me. While it is day, night is coming. While it is day, night is coming. When no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Having said these things, he spit on the ground and made mud with the saliva. Then he anointed the man's eyes with mud and said to him, Go wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. So he went and washed and came back seeing. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar were saying, Is this not the man who used to sit and beg? Some said, and it is he. Others said, No, but he is like him. He kept saying, I am the man. So they said to him, Then how are your eyes opened? He answered, The man called Jesus made mud and anointed my eyes and said to me, Go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed and received my sight. They said to him, Where is he? He said, I do not know. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now it was the Sabbath day. Uh-oh. Isn't it funny how Jesus does these things on the Sabbath? When Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes, so the Pharisees again asked him how he had received his sight. He said to them, "He put on he put mud on my eyes and washed, and I washed and I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." This is, and Jesus keeps pointing these things out about the legalism. This fits perfectly in my studies about this legalism versus, you know, versus the two extremes, legalism versus nothing but love. It's like, okay, which paradigm are we going with? Strictly by the law or strictly by love? And it's, kind of in the middle there. you know? But others said, how can a man who is a sinner do such things? How can a man who is a sinner? What? They ain't getting it. They ain't getting it. He's not a sinner. There was a division among them. So they said again to the blind man, "What do you say about him? Since he has opened your eyes." He said, "He is a prophet." Okay, so this guy thinks he's a prophet. The Jews did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they called the parents of the man who had received who had received his sight and asked them, Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see?" His parents answered, "We know that this is our son, that he was born blind. But how he now sees, we do not know, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He's of age." They're like, "I don't want nothing to do with this." They see the trouble. They see what's going on here. They're like, "We're not interjecting in this at all." It's like, let him speak for himself. He will speak for himself. Yes. His parents said these things because they feared the Jews. The Jews had already agreed that if anyone should confess Jesus to be Christ, he was to be put out of the synagogue, which means like basically banished to where they couldn't come back. They couldn't, and it's a big deal. You can't be kicked out of the synagogue. You can't go make your sacrifices. You can't be dutiful to the law of Moses and be forgiven of sins. You can't be faithful to the commandments. Therefore, his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So the second time they called the man who had been blind and said to him, "Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner." Okay, so they're talking about the actual blind man. He answered, "Whether he's talking about, okay, so we know that this man is a sinner." They're talking about Jesus here. Okay, and he answers, "Whether he is a sinner, I do not know." So he's like, "I don't know. All I'm gonna tell you is the truth. All right. One thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see." Bam. That's all he is. That's his gospel. That's his. That's his message. It's like, I don't know what happened. It just happened. I don't know. They said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I have told you already, and you would not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples?" Oh, I love that line. I love that. It's kind of smart, but it's like, hey, you want to join up too, man? Uh, and they reviled him, saying, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses." Oh, yeah, yeah, something like that too. "We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he comes from." The man answered, uh, "Why, this is an amazing thing. You you do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, God listens to him." I mean, this guy's, he may just be a blind dude sitting on the streets, but he's got some wisdom. This guy's like reasoning this out and just breaking it down for him. It's like, okay, I don't know what he's done in the past. I don't know anything about the dude. I just know he walked up to me, spit some in some dirt, made some bud, which was really weird. Put it on my eyes, which is really weird. Told me to go wash them. I was like, okay, what the heck? I'll try it out. And next thing I know, I can see. It's like, uh, and he just breaks it down logically. He's like, ah, man, I don't know. All I know is we know that God does not listen to sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, God listens to him. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered him, you were born in utter sin, and would you teach us? See, they're getting pissy, get kind of angry. Like, who are you? They cast him out. Okay, and that's what the parents were afraid of too. That's why they weren't backing him up. They were just like, I don't know, he's of age because he just got cast out of the synagogue. He can't come back. Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and having found him, he said, do you believe in the Son of Man? And he answered, and who is he, sir, that I may believe in him? The Son of Man is the reference to the Messiah. Um, Jesus said to him, and they would have known this terminology in this time. They were all looking for the Messiah at the time. You have seen him, and it is he who is speaking to you. He said, Lord, I believe, and he worshipped him. Jesus said, for judgment I came into this world, that those who do not see may see, and those may who see may become blind. And that's the point of this entire thing. That he's talking about these Pharisees that pretend, they think they see. They see their own law, their own way of practicing, but they're blinded by their own religiosity or whatever you want to call it. They're blinded by their own legalism and their own pompous idea of ethics, and their own idea of right and wrong. Um, and he's showing that I am opening the eyes of those who are lost. That's why he came to the sinners and he came to the poor and the outcasts, because they weren't caught up with all this junk, you know, all this legalist junk and rules that he was following, but they couldn't see past their own noses to see that, oh, this is the law. And he points out it time and time again. Like every time they actually confront him, he points out, have you not read? Have you not read? He points out, you guys are wrong. You don't even know what you're talking about. Okay, so some of the Pharisees near him heard these things and said to him, are we also blind? There you go. Are we also blind? Jesus said to them, if you were blind, you would have no guilt. Ooh. But now that you say, we see, your guilt remains. See what he did there? He's like, okay, these people that are ignorant, that don't know any better, they're not condemned. But you've read the word, you know it by heart, you've memorized these things, and still you don't see. You say we see, but you don't see. And it's a common theme over and over and over again through this. So we'll go back here, and the man blinded from birth. And that's one of the biggest problems a lot of people have, is we all got our hangups. We all got our, I have my own um, problems from birth, like this man has, problems from birth. Probably not as dramatic as he's got to deal with. This things I got to deal with every day of my life. And it's like, why would I be burdened with this? What did I do? Was it, was it the sins of something I did, or something my parents did, or something like that? And over time, you start to realize that those things, those trials, or unfair quotation things, that burdens that you have in your life, disabilities, um, whatever. Um, we all have our things. We all have our things. They are all put on us for a reason. And you learn in dealing with those things and overcoming those things, they make you stronger, and they also make it to where you can emphasize with other people that have gone through or are going through different things. And just think about those. I've gone through some, just not just the physical, but the emotional and psychological things over the years. People hurting you, deeply hurting you, the losses in your life from people dying at young ages and things like that, losses of children. I haven't had that. I've had family losses of children at young ages, things like that. It's just it seems so unfair, and it takes time. It takes time to heal from those things, but it also takes time to realize what God was doing. And I love that. I actually found out who it was the other day. It was Corey Timboon or whatever. That she used to go around to these old ladies. I can't remember the story. Anyway, she talked about a tapestry, talked about like a woven blanket or whatever. And on one side, it had the beautiful landscape, a beautiful image on one side of it. But you turn around the other side, you see all the strings just going in and out, and just look like pure chaos. And that's that image that just speaks so much to me. That one side, all we can see is this one side that looks like pure chaos. All we see is the yarn going from here to there, and it just looks like a jumbled mess. That's what our lives look like, this big jumbled mess. And then one day we'll see, and we'll get a little pictures of that along the way, but we'll see the beauty of the masterpiece, the masterwork that's on the other side of this life. We'll see what is being worked out and all this chaos and all this what we see as unfairness and you know oppression on us or whatever. So there is a master plan. You just have to have faith that there is a master plan, and it takes time to realize those things. You don't see it in the moment when you're going through things, of course, and you get angry and wonder why you're having to deal with that. But one day, trust me, one day you'll realize if you make it through the right way and act rightly on it. But those are kind of pivotal moments too when you're going through those things and dealing with those kind of problems. You have two paths. You can either handle it right and make it make yourself stronger and go on, go further closer to God and closer to what your actual purpose here is, or you can go the opposite direction and let it bring you down, let it destroy you. So they are kind of tests, kind of like a Job kind of test in each one of those moments. So, anyways, I think that's enough for today. I guess we'll check y'all next time. It's been